Alright, I think we're ready. So, my name is Windley, and I agree to the terms, or have read and I agree to the terms of the contributor agreement. And
So do I.
so does Miss Windley, Miss Alice Windley. So I'll give a little background. My name is Laura Windley. I'm a dancer in Durham, North Carolina. I do Lindy Hop, Balboa, Charleston, and attempt to do other swing dances. But one of my greatest inspirations is my grandmother, Alice Windley. And we're here with her today to talk about her experiences growing up during the swing era. So let's get started. Where were you born?
I was born in Craven County, 1926, and I went to school at a little country school called Jasper. And I had a teacher out there, Miss Sadie Dixon, and she taught us 10 girls in her class how to dance. And she taught us to swing our legs as the Rockettes did in New York. And a lot of times we would be invited, these 10 girls would be invited to go and entertain at local events. And
Very cool.
the Sun Journal is the paper that was up there, and we went and entertained them one time, and I remember I wore long white pants and a red, white, and blue looked like a flag top. And but anyway, I finally grew up and went to Queens College in Charlotte, 18 months, and learned to be an executive secretary. I got a job at Cherry Point, but in the meantime, I was growing up in New Bern, and they had a place there called Stanley Hall. And down on Stanley Hall, they had basketball tournaments. It was up over the stores.
Okay, so it was a big room?
Yeah, it was a big room. And they had basketball tournaments up there. And when they were not using it, they would let a group of us that danced go up there and dance. And I loved to jitterbug. That's what we called jitterbugging in those days. And I adored being able to jitterbug. Then I met my husband, and he was a pretty good dancer, but he could jitterbug.
Now, where did you meet Granddaddy?
I met him at Cherry Point. I got my job at Cherry Point.
And tell everybody what Cherry Point is.
Cherry Point is the Marine Corps Air Station at Cherry Point, North Carolina. And I had gotten a job there in one of the areas.
Okay.
And he happened when the war was over.
Okay, so this was 1945,
Yeah,
46?
And
Okay.
I went to work up there about 1943.
Okay.
And then he came in my office, and he was the prettiest thing I had ever seen in that Merchant Marine uniform. And he had been, he had to wait a while before the academy released him, because when you go to one of the academies, like the Naval Academy or somewhere like that, you have to stay as long as they want you to.
Okay.
And so he stayed a while, and then he came. When he grew up in Beaufort.
Okay.
And we moved down here, and
Beaufort is where we are right now.
That's where we are now in Beaufort. And he built me a lovely home out on the river. And I loved it out there. But when the children got away and at college and away from home, he retired from NOAA. He went to work for NOAA as a marine engineer, and he worked there in the Caribbean for several years. And then I would fly down into the Caribbean to see him, and then he would come home to see the children.
Okay.
But the children all got away, and they got the college educations behind them, and got their own. They were on their own, own jobs and still are.
Yeah. Now let's talk about. Let's go back and talk about when you were a kid and you learned how to dance, like the Rockettes.
Yeah.
Where, or I should say, do you remember what year or how old you were?
Well, I was in the 5th grade.
Okay. And when were you born?
I was born in 26.
26. Okay. So this would have been in the early to mid 1930s.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
But I just always loved dancing. And when you got married,
Mhm.
we had a dinner. And then afterwards, my grandson, Jerry, came over and we had a band. You had a band.
We did have a band.
And they were dancing in there. And Jerry came and got me. And I didn't know I could still jitterbug.
Oh, of course you
But
can.
I just loved it. Always loved dancing.
Now, when did you learn how to jitterbug? Do you remember who taught you?
No, I really don't remember. I think I just picked it up on my own, dancing with some of the boys, up in this Stanley Hall.
Okay, and what, do you remember the names of any of the people you danced with?
No, I really don't.
That's all right. Were they local?
Yeah, they were all local, and then after I went to work at Cherry Point, my mother didn't want me to date servicemen
Oh, no!
very much, so I didn't.
Okay,
And,
but would you go out dancing with them?
we would, if they went to Stanley Hall, I went.
Okay,
I got to dance with them.
excellent.
But that's where I learned in the 5th grade, and I just always loved dancing.
So did you when you started dancing at Stanley Hall socially?
Yeah. Yeah.
When you were in the 5th grade, or did that happen later?
No, that was later.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you had your first instance of dancing with the Rockettes around the 5th grade, and then
when I was in the 5th grade, that was one of our recreation things.
Okay.
And we would go down in the basketball area and dance on the floor down there.
Okay, so it had a wood floor and
Yeah,
that was
had
nice.
a wood floor in there.
Okay.
Where they played basketball. And I just loved a little country school, and when I went away to school, my sister that was 9 years older than I was sort of adopted me, and so that I went to the Queen's School and had the proper clothing, too, because at the Queen's, if you didn't, you had to go uptown. You had to go with somebody,
Okay.
another girl, and then you had to wear gloves and a hat.
Well then.
Yeah.
So when you went to dance at Stanley Hall, did you dance to records or did you dance to live music or both?
Sometimes both.
Okay.
If there was a band around that would play for us, they would play, and we'd take up a donation and pay them,
Okay.
And then a lot of times they had records. In fact, I've got some still here.
I know you do.
Uh-huh.
Do you remember any of the names? Like, were they touring bands or were they local bands?
They were just local people.
Okay.
That just loved to play, and they would go up to Stanley Hall and entertain. And,
Okay.
but I always loved dancing. And I have another granddaughter that loves to dance.
I do.
Yeah.
Now, when you were during World War II, what were you doing during the war?
I worked at Cherry, as I said, worked at Cherry Point.
Okay. And what did you do there?
I was a secretary.
Okay.
And kept the time cards for the people in that unit that I was working for. And the band that I worked for was named David Windley.
Okay.
And that was my husband's brother.
Okay.
And that's the reason he came in the office that day.
Visit. Well, that's fortuitous.
Yeah.
Did I remember you
I
telling
married
me?
him 1 month after I met him.
Now tell me about that.
Well, I met him November 8th, 1945, and he went to Baltimore to raise his license, marine engineering license. And while he was up there, he called me and he said, I don't think we had talked about him dating again when he came home in May. And he said, I don't want to make till May, let's let's go ahead and get married. So I went to Baltimore, and we got married at Waverly Methodist Church in Baltimore, Maryland, in 1945, December the 10th, 1945, and we were married 61 years when he died.
That's so wonderful.
Yeah.
Now let's talk, let's go back, and I remember before you met Granddaddy, I remember you telling me a story about a guy named Ski, who was an enlisted man that you would go dancing with?
Yeah, he'd go up Stanley Hall, and once in a while, now that you mentioned it, I think he would invite me to go out to the base to the dancing that was going on out there.
And what did they have going on?
Well, they had just a little building there that they had like a little supper or something like that, you know. And then they dance in there, and he would take me home. He had a car, believe it or not.
Yeah? What kind of car did he have?
I don't remember what kind it was, but it was a car that it made it Cherry Point and back to New Bern.
I remember you telling me that you really enjoyed. He was a really good dancer.
He was a good dancer, and but we danced up there in that Stanley Hall years and years and years. And I heard that they are remodeling up there and going to use it for a place to show that historic stuff. So that makes me feel I want to go sometime.
So the building is in New Bern, North Carolina, and it's still standing.
Yes, it's still. Yep, it's still standing there. But
do you remember where New Bern is?
Yes,
I think it's downtown.
It's right downtown, across the street from the Episcopal Church, and Town Hall is right down the street a little ways. And the clock, used to be a store there called Baxter's Jewelry Store, and there's a big clock out front that was in front of Baxter's Jewelry Store, and that was where I picked out my silver. I still got it.
Yeah.
And stuff like that, you know, there when I got married.
Okay. Now, I also remember you telling me about a pair of red heels.
Oh, yeah.
You got, tell me that story again.
I can't remember all of it, but I remember I danced in high heels.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I could dance better in high heels than I could flats. I could. And I just loved dancing, always did.
So for everyone, when I was a few years younger than I am now, Granny would tell me this story about how your family had saved your ration cards during the war to buy you a nice pair of dress shoes.
Yes, that's true.
And you said I think you said they were red snakeskin pumps.
Yep.
And they were so nice.
They were.
And do you remember what you did when you went out dancing in them the first time you wore them?
No, I can't remember now.
So the first time that you wore the shoes, you said you went out dancing. I don't know if it was with Ski but you had a great time, and that you danced holes through the soles of the shoes. And you came home, and your mama was so mad at you.
I'm sure she was. I'm sure she was. You see, he's mowing that grass.
Yeah, I can see that.
He's a nice guy.
So, when you were jitterbugging at Stanley Hall, what did you have a favorite? When you were dancing to records, did you have a favorite band that you liked to dance to?
No, but it appeared at the time that everybody wanted to dance with me. So I could teach them, lead them, and teach them.
Okay.
And it made me feel good that they wanted to dance with me. I wasn't a beauty queen, but I wasn't ugly either.
You were adorable.
Well, I have coal black hair, and it's white now, but it was coal black in those days.
Yeah.
And I had bright blue eyes, and so I wasn't ugly, and I guess you.
Well, you must have been a great dancer if people came to you.
They did.
To learn.
They loved to come up to Stanley Hall and dance.
Did you teach people to lead and to follow?
Granddaddy.
So you taught Granddaddy.
Granddaddy how to lead. If I ever got him going, then he would lead me.
Okay.
But I had to
You had to
lead
get him
him
started.
Yeah, get him started. And he was a good dancer. Yeah, bless his heart, he was a good dancer. And he was a handsome man, I thought he was anyway, and I adored him all 61 years.
I remember the two of you dancing at Caroline's wedding.
Uh-huh.
And you did a foxtrot.
Yeah, that was at the Naval Academy.
Yes, it was at the U.S. Naval Academy. And let's see, what else have we got to cover here? Did you have a favorite song that you like to dance to?
Right now I can't remember one, but just anything that had that beat.
That beat.
That beat.
Yeah.
I could do the jitterbug too, because that was my favorite dance, the jitterbug, and the dancing like the Rockettes, you know. I love that.
Yeah. Now you told me at one point that you did some air steps, some aerials where the guys would throw you.
Oh yeah, over their backs. Yeah.
Okay.
Let me roll over their backs. Yeah, but I didn't like that because I was afraid I'd fall and.
Oh.
Yeah, I didn't like it too much. So, but I was. My mother was very careful about who I dated because she didn't want me to become, you know, too popular, I guess.
Okay. Yes.
But when I met your granddaddy, and he wanted to get married, she wasn't happy about my getting married so quickly.
No, I'm sure.
But she loved him as good as I did. Because she lived with us 12 years, you know.
Okay. Let's look at my cards here. Let's make sure we've covered everything. When you got, I guess when the war ended and you got married, would you and Granddaddy go out and dance?
When he was home, yes, we would.
Okay.
Whenever he got home, we would go. Yeah, we surely would.
I also heard that you guys would take trips to New York.
We did.
Okay.
Because he went to the Merchant Marine Academy, and he loved to go up there for homecoming. And we would go up there for homecoming. And then we would go into the New York and see plays and this, that, and the other. And we really had a good time. I think the last time I went downtown in New York was our high school band, and my grandson was playing in it. We went down there and right in front of Macy's, and watched the band pass by. And I think that was the last time I went to downtown, you know. But we enjoyed going to homecomings and seeing the plays that were on Broadway.
Right, and then I think Granddaddy said at one point that you guys would go see live music shows?
Yep. Oh, yes.
Do you remember what bands you got to go
No, I
see?
do not remember.
Okay.
I do remember about a trumpet, clarinet player.
Benny Goodman?
Benny Good.
Or Artie Shaw?
What was the guy's name? From New Orleans.
Pete Fountain?
Pete Fountain.
Yep, Granddaddy loved Pete Fountain.
He did. Yes, he did. And we saw him, and we've been to New Orleans 2 or 3 times.
Yeah? What did you guys do in New Orleans?
Oh, we went for the Mardi Gras.
Okay.
Went twice for the Mardi Gras. We went with some friends and took the train down and went to the Mardi Gras, and we loved it down there, and he particularly loved it.
Oh, I'm sure. So you guys would go see a lot of live music?
Yes, we did. On the streets, you know, we saw the parades and everything, and throwing the beads, and we just had a grand time.
Do you remember what years you went? Or
No,
about 60s or 50s?
I booked back some pictures that we took, but I don't remember right off what years they were. But,
okay.
But we love to go to New Orleans. New Orleans. The way they say it.
Exactly. All right. Well, do you have anything else that you want to talk about? Because I'm out of questions and I'm out of anecdotes.
I can't think of anything right now except we sold the house out in the country. We had owned this one a long time. But we had been renting it out and to a doctor from Duke. And so we just, this is the original plastering that's here in the house, and two light fixtures in the living room and dining room are original to the house.
Yeah.
And the house came from Sears.
Yeah.
Supposedly been one of those, but it's still, the original plastering is still in it, and we just did some painting and put in some new carpet and stuff like that, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we lived here, and we loved it, and I still do. I'm glad I'm here instead of out there, because my sister-in-law that lived next to us in the country is dead, you know.
Yeah.
And
so you lived in it. So just to clarify, Granddaddy built a house out on the Intercoastal Waterway in the early 1950s.
And on Newport River.
And then you guys bought this house. This house that we're in is a 1920s, like you said, Sears bungalow.
23.
And you bought it in the 70s, 1970s?
I would say so. I don't know exactly when we bought it, but we just rented it out.
So they went.
We knew a couple that lived here,
Mm-hmm.
and they wanted to sell it because he had inherited some land, and he wanted to build a new house, and it was out in the country.
Mm-hmm.
And so Neil said, "Okay, I'll buy it." So then we rented it out for all those years.
Right. So let's close, and I want you to you danced at my wedding.
Yes.
To the Boilermaker Jazz Band.
Yes.
And did you have a good time?
I want to tell you we did. We really did. And
that's the last time I think I've seen you dance.
That was the last time I danced, because I didn't even know I could dance then. And Jerry came and took me in there, and here we go.
And you danced, I think you danced with some of my friends.
Yes,
also.
I did. I really did. And I had forgotten I could dance at all, because I had gotten so old.
Well, I loved seeing you dance.
Yeah.
I remember that you were the first person out on the dance floor after we finished up. We did a jam for me so that my husband could play trombone, and I danced with a bunch of different people.
Yeah.
But I saw that you were the first person out on the dance floor.
I loved it.
Once the band kicked up again.
Yeah. And my daughter said, "Mother, why couldn't I learn to dance like you do?"
Oh, different time.
But yeah, oh yeah. But she graduated from college and retired from teaching.
But she also knows how to dance, because she knows how to Carolina shag.
Yeah, she does.
Right? So she got a little bit of dancing.
She said, "Why can I dance good as you did?" I said, "Well, honey, I don't know." But she took dancing too when she was, a teenager.
Okay, that would be during the 1960s. Okay.
She she's retired now, and I don't know what she does with her time, but anyway, I'm glad I'm where I live, right where I am, because I've got neighbors close by.
Now, do you think you would go out dancing again if you had the opportunity?
I would go watch.
You would go watch? Wonderful.
But at my age, at 87 years old, you're not sure you can even, I'm not even sure I can walk to the corner.
Oh, no.
But everybody's sweet to me, and looks after me, and she comes by and picks me up and takes me to church, and I just enjoy it. Royal loves, his girls love to dance too.
Yes. So it's a family legacy.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, somebody asked, Greer's the one that dances the most. And she said, somebody asked her, she said, "I got it from my grandmother." Her mother said, "Well, you certainly didn't get it from me."
Oh, no.
It tickled me to best. But Greer is a good dancer. And she danced in a couple of plays there. And
Yeah, we went to go
Pinehurst,
see
yeah.
her in 42nd Street,
yes, we did.
which is kind of a throwback to what you were doing.
Yes, exactly. Well, she says, I got it from my grandmother.
Well, I would agree with that. I give you a lot of credit
Well, thank you.
for having a
But-
natural ability to
But
dance.
never have been anybody that loved it any better than I did. And loved your granddaddy.
All right. Well, I think we're going to stop the interview
All right.
now.
Well,
Thank you so much for
thank you
for sharing your stories
thank
with
you
everyone.
for wanting to talk about my dancing days. But
I love hearing about your dancing days.
well, good.
All right.
Well, it was a wonderful time for me.
So
you
this
know.
is Laura Windley and Alice Windley,
Yep,
and we're signing off. Thanks so much for listening.
yep.